My wife's newly hired secretary arrives late and leaves early every day, so I prepare to fire him according to company regulations. But at a business dinner, he mocks me as just a kept man, living off my wife, and forces me to kneel and apologize in front of everyone. I explain that I'm just doing my job and following the rules. The secretary becomes increasingly aggressive, even threatening to fire me instead. I immediately call my wife. Your secretary says he wants to fire me. What do you think? Lu Duguang, you're nothing but a disabled person supported by CEO Han. Have you eaten so much free food that you think you're somebody important? If you want to fire me, first consider your own worth. Jiang Ming stands with one hand in his suit pants pocket, holding a wine glass in the other, looking at me with contempt. His voice was already loud, and he deliberately raised it further. Everyone at the dinner turned to look, casting surprised glances. I adjusted the glasses on my nose, frowning with dissatisfaction, but still patiently tried to explain. You've left work early without reason multiple times this month, and even failed to complete your work. I'm firing you simply by following company policy. Jiang Ming still didn't think he was the problem, his nose practically pointing to the sky. Whether I violated company rules or completed my work isn't for you to decide. Don't think you can control everything in the company just because you're the HR manager. He snorted coldly with disdain, appearing completely fearless. Let me tell you, today I'm not only going to fire you, but I'll also make you kneel down and apologize to me. This statement was truly absurd. Every legitimate company has its own explicit rules, let alone Jiang Ming, a mere personal secretary, actually thinking he could reverse the situation and fire me. Moreover, how could Han Group have risen so quickly from the brink of bankruptcy to become the local business leader without my secret assistance? Firing me would be like cutting off the company's main artery, suicidal. Jiang Ming noticed my disdain, leisurely took a sip of wine, and pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket, tossing it over to me. It was actually a dismissal letter, with my name clearly written on it. I was stunned and immediately took out my phone to call the CEO's wife. The call was nearly disconnected before being answered, and Han Jingya's cold and impatient voice came through. What is it? Make it quick. I'm busy and don't have time for your unreasonable complaints. Even though I was dissatisfied inside, I still controlled my tone and tried to ask calmly. Jiang Ming says you want to fire me. Did you personally sign the dismissal letter? Han Jingya let out a cold laugh over the phone and answered decisively. Yes. Do you have any objections? I was caught off guard, filled with confusion. Why? Han Jingya's patience seemed to be nearly exhausted, her tone becoming even more merciless. Lu Duguang, don't forget, you had nothing when you started. It was because I let you into the company that you have your current position as manager. I am the CEO of the Han Group. Now that I want you to leave, do I need any reason? Han Jingya seemed to recall something, her voice filled with contempt and disgust. During your years at the company, how many useless people have you brought in using our relationship? I've had enough of supporting those good-for-nothings. The company is at a crucial point of growth now, and we don't need parasites like you. She hung up the phone mercilessly, and Jiang Ming laughed triumphantly. I gripped my phone tightly, anger surging within me. Those people were all industry elites I had personally invited using my connections. The salary Han Jingya paid them wasn't even a tenth of what I supplemented them with. Yet now she called them useless. Even my dedicated efforts were treated as nothing. Since my hard work was so unappreciated, I might as well leave completely. I turned to leave, planning to contact those elite professionals, but was blocked by Jiang Ming with his malicious intentions. Manager Lu, I just told you, you must kneel down here and apologize to me. Otherwise, I'll make sure you suffer the consequences in the future. Everyone at the banquet was whispering, all with expressions of watching a good show. Several people who used to be friendly with me, and even consistently went out of their way to curry favor with me, either lowered their heads pretending not to recognize me when they met my eyes, or walked behind Jiang Ming to show where they stood, coldly mocking me. Some people quietly advised me to bow my head and apologize, to avoid bringing trouble upon myself. But not a single person was willing to stand up and speak for me. They perfectly exemplified the act of praising the high and stepping on the low. Those few people behind Jiang Ming looked somewhat familiar to me, as if I had seen them before on resumes, all with some family connection to Jiang Ming. It's laughable that Han Jingya prided herself on being elite, yet couldn't even see who was truly using connections to stuff people into the company. Pretty boy, Han CEO has kept you for so long. Not only do you not know gratitude, you even dare to be so disrespectful to Brother Jiang. If I were him, I wouldn't just make you kneel, I'd make you kowtow 3 times. I've been irritated by his bullying attitude for a long time. He's nothing but someone who uses his looks to please others, acting high and mighty for who knows what. Exactly. If it weren't for CEO Han's kindness in keeping him at the company, he'd probably be begging on the streets by now. In my youthful recklessness, I once pursued thrills and had an unfortunate accident. It was Han Jingya's father who helped me out. Because of This connection, I agreed to his deathbed request to marry Han Jingya. Only because I've kept a low profile these years and been considerate of Han Jingya's competitive nature, I've repeatedly backed down. This has somehow led these people to believe I'm worthless and an easy target. Facing their attempts to kick me while I was down, the anger in my heart strangely subsided, and I couldn't help but curl my lips into a smile. How interesting. The variety of species in H City is truly remarkable. If this were in Beijing's territory, who would dare speak to me this way? Seeing that I could still smile, Jiang Ming threatened me viciously. Hurry up and get on your knees. If I'm in a good mood, I might let this slide. Now that President Han has completely abandoned you, you have no one backing you up. I could stomp my foot and make your family graves tremble 3 times over. I narrowed my eyes, still maintaining my composure. Without Han Yajing, do you believe that because of these words of yours, I can make your ancestors for 18 generations come begging for my forgiveness? Before Jiang Ming could respond, the banquet erupted into chaos. My goodness, I've never seen someone so shameless. Even putting on a brave face should have its limits. It's truly laughable. If he really had that kind of ability, would he need to be President Han's son-in-law? Just watch, daring to offend Secretary Jiang, he'll get what's coming to him. Have some dignity. He's talking as if before, if it weren't for considering President Han's face, he would have already dealt with Secretary Jiang. Jiang Ming simply couldn't believe that I, having lost Han Jingyao's protection, would still dare to be so arrogant. You little punk, don't push your luck with me. Today, if you don't kneel down and apologize, you won't be walking out of this door. Jiang Ming violently smashed his wine glass on the floor, pointing at the pile of glass shards, gesturing to several people behind him. You guys come here. Since Manager Lu can't kneel down, help him out. Let's see what's harder, these glass shards or Lu Duguang's knees. Those people who were acting tough clearly hadn't expected Jiang Ming to go this far, and their expressions were very hesitant. Someone weakly spoke up, trying to persuade Jiang Ming to let me off. Secretary Jiang, even if Manager Lu no longer works at the company, he is still President Han's lawful husband. Treating Manager Lu like this is slapping President Han's face. This, to put it bluntly, even when beating a dog, one should consider its owner. Yes, Brother Ming, just have this guy apologize to you. Let's just go through the motions. If this gets bigger, it won't look good for you either. My expression turned cold as I stared directly at Jiang Ming. Even if Han Jingya hasn't divorced me yet, and even if we do divorce, half of the assets would still be mine. Jiang Ming, huh? Think you thought about the consequences of treating me this way? Jiang Ming is at most just a small lackey by Han Jingya's side. I really can't understand how he dares to provoke me like this. After hearing my words, Jiang Ming didn't stop. Instead, he snorted smugly, with a meaningful smirk on his face. You still dare to covet Madame Han's family fortune? I won't hide it from you. Madame Han stopped loving you long ago. She won't give you money, much less protect you. I raised an eyebrow slightly. The marriage with the Han family was sought by Han Jingya's father. When Mr. Han helped me back then, he had clearly discovered my identity, but chose not to expose it. He apparently didn't tell his daughter. Do your words represent Han Jingya? If Han Jingya wants to divorce me, I wouldn't necessarily refuse. After all, I agreed to the engagement out of gratitude, and during these years together, she has always been very cold towards me. Even when I tried to nurture some feelings between us, it all ended in failure. When Mr. Han was seriously ill, I also used my connections to find renowned doctors for him to gain a few more months of life. In fact, I've already settled my debt to them. I've done everything I could for the Han family, and if Han Jingya insists on repaying kindness with enmity, then I don't mind taking back everything I've given to the Han family. Dealing with these small fry is just a matter of lifting a finger. Lu Duguang, people should know their place. You want to hear President Han admit it herself? Fine, I'll satisfy you, and make you kneel down willingly. Jiang Ming looked confident, curling his lips at me contemptuously, then took out his phone, opened his chat history with Han Jingya, and played her voice message. I will definitely divorce Lu Duguang. The Han family has been taking care of him for so many years, which is more than enough. Not to mention, I even married him. When the time comes, I will naturally make him leave with nothing. He won't get a single penny of the Han family's money. I couldn't help but remark that the Han family had truly raised a good daughter. She only sees the shallow benefits on the surface, yet doesn't know how to cherish the source of these benefits. How about it, Manager Lu? You can kneel before me now, but the conditions have changed. Jiang Ming was gloating with success, pretending to be magnanimous while wearing a cold expression. I want you to kowtow while saying, I'm sorry, this lowly one was blind. And if you do it well enough, I might just let you crawl out of here in one piece. I narrowed my eyes, my sharp gaze falling unwaveringly on Jiang Ming. The powerful aura emanating from me frightened him into taking an involuntary step back. Judging from how Jiang Ming acted with such lawlessness and Han Jingya's indulgence of it, There must be some more powerful existence behind them. As the saying goes, when beating a dog, one must consider its owner. Although I've kept an extremely low profile these past few years, with my actions and methods becoming gentler, the pride in my bones isn't something that can just disappear. When dogs bark at me, I not only deal with those who lack judgment, but I also deal with their masters. Lu Duguang, either don't act at all, or go all the way. The others present were shocked and drew in cold breaths when they saw my extraordinary aura, as if I had become a different person. Damn, what's going on? How did this pretty boy suddenly seem so dangerous? Wow, I must say his eyes just now, so sharp, so captivating. Actually, considering Han Jingya's eagerness to divorce and the recent direction of the company's development, it's not hard to guess what connections are at play. You've established connections with people in Beijing? Seeing that I directly pointed out the core issue, Jiang Ming stared at me in disbelief. But in just a moment, he returned to normal, with the smugness and pride on his face multiplied several times over compared to before. Kid, since you've figured it out, I won't hide it anymore. That's right. That person has recognized the potential of the Han Group, and before long, the Han Group will enter the capital. The Han family, as the leading family in H City, will also gain a foothold there. A gasp of envy was heard, and I couldn't help but sneer. Since it's someone from the capital, that makes things easier. I wonder if the person behind this is even worthy of tying my shoes. What is his name? I calmly asked. You dare ask his name? Let me tell you, even if you combined all 18 generations of your ancestors, they wouldn't match up to one finger of his. Jiang Ming, not seeing me kneeling in tears and begging for mercy in a pathetic state, felt insulted and, enraged with embarrassment, shouted at the people behind him. Are you all dead? Hurry up and teach this kid how to behave properly. The few people who were hesitating earlier, upon hearing about the power behind the Han family, no longer took me seriously and were ready to make their move without another word. I remained expressionless, the sharp coldness in my eyes forcing them to not dare step forward again. The Han family will soon go bankrupt. I advise you to weigh the consequences before acting. With a glance around, in the complete silence, I continued speaking. I've memorized everyone present today. If you leave now, I can let bygones be bygones. But if you remain stubborn, don't blame me for showing no mercy. I was tired of this farce, and it was time to end it. Lu Duguang, who gave you the courage to speak like this? Just then, two people slowly walked in through the entrance. Han Jingya's best friend Wu Sini frowned deeply, her eyes filled with anger as she looked at me. But I shifted my gaze to the unfamiliar man wearing sunglasses beside her. Don't recognize him. Seems he truly isn't worthy enough to shine my shoes. The man gently patted Wu Sini, who was quite angry, then walked forward with one hand in his pocket, arrogantly raising his chin and scanning my face with contempt. You're that pretty boy who's been pestering Jingya? From what you just said, you really want to meet me? Well, I'm here now. What do you plan to do? Oh, young Master Pan. What wind blew you here? He's just a pretty boy. I'll take care of him right away. No need to trouble yourself. Upon seeing that arrogant man, Jiang Ming's attitude suddenly made a 180-degree turn, approaching him with a fawning smile to welcome him. Pan? It couldn't be that Pan, could it? The Pan family from the capital. If this person really is from the Pan family, then Mr. Lu is truly going to be in dire straits today. Even though the Han family can command wind and rain in this city, compared to the Pan family, they're like ants facing an elephant. Incredible, truly incredible. The crowd's exclamations and envy successfully pleased Pan Yi, and he confidently raised his lips in a smile. The young master is in a good mood today. Tell me, how much money do you want? This young master can spare some for you. I chuckled lightly. Even all of the Pan family's money combined couldn't compare to my pocket change. Honestly speaking, even if Pan Yi was willing to give it, I wouldn't be interested. The Han family's worth is insignificant. Apart from a few technical experts, they're nothing but a mess. Since you're willing to support them, I presume you're actually interested in my wife personally. Faced with my inquiry, Pan Yi showed no guilt about interfering in someone else's marriage. Yes, I am interested in your wife. What are you going to do about it? What can you possibly do about it? It's just a matter of mutual consent. Besides, who asked you to be so useless? Even as a live-in son-in-law, you can neither touch your wife's body nor keep her heart. You can only blame your bad luck. Beside him, Wu Sini rolled her eyes at me so hard they nearly reached the sky. Lu Duguang, a rat from the gutter is still a rat. Don't think you can transform yourself just because you've worn human skin for a few days. Let me tell you, Jingya is not someone you can covet. Pan Yi put his arm around Wu Sini's waist and said with a malicious smile, All right, baby, don't you feel the air getting foul when you talk to this kind of person? The anger from being repeatedly provoked and humiliated was stirred up, and looking at the culprit before me, I suddenly felt my fist itching. No one could have expected that I would actually dare to hit Pan Yi. After I kicked him to his knees on the ground, The stunned Jiang Ming and Wu Sini finally let out pig slaughter-like screams and rushed over. Everyone else also dropped their jaws in shock, staring in astonishment with widened eyes. Will he be able to see tomorrow's sun? Damn, his fearlessness of authority makes me feel sorry for him. A warrior, a true warrior. Jiang Ming pointed at me with trembling fingers, his eyes full of disbelief. You actually dared to hit young Master Pan. I grabbed a tissue from the side to wipe off non-existent dirt from my hands, and nodded seriously upon hearing his words. Yes, I did it. Pan Yi finally came to his senses after a while, also staring at me in utter disbelief, the rage in his eyes surging like an erupting volcano. Lu, do you believe that if the King of Hell calls for your death at midnight, I can make the grass on your grave grow 10 feet tall by tomorrow? The Pan family won't let you go. Tossing the tissue lightly onto Pan Yi's face, I refuted with a straight face, looking at Pan Yi as if he were already dead. Now it's no longer a question of whether the Pan family will let me go, but rather that you haven't realized the seriousness of the situation. Because I'm the one who's not going to let you go. Pan Yi was so angry his chest heaved unevenly. Breathing heavily, he said, "Good," 3 times, then shouted outward. Get in here now. Burly, strong men in black suits filed in one after another, bowing respectfully to Pan Yi. Pan Yi pointed at me and said coldly and viciously, "Cripple him." The bodyguards, unsurprised, responded with a yes and came at me, when suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the air. Stop. An elderly person sitting in a wheelchair was shakily pushed in by someone. Wu Sini approached with a puzzled expression. Dad, why are you here? Wu Zhengxiong was sweating profusely as he shakily stood up from his wheelchair. Wu Sini tried to help him, but was pushed away. Dad, what are you doing? Wu Sini stomped her foot in displeasure, looking at her father with a resentful expression, not understanding what he was up to. Wu Zhengxiong, who usually doted on his daughter, glared at her harshly, then turned and walked straight toward me. Mr. Lu, are you all right? Wu Zhengxiong's face was full of apology as he examined me for any signs of injury, only breathing a sigh of relief after confirming I was unharmed. Mr. Lu, I'm truly sorry. I failed to teach my daughter properly, which led to her offending you. Wu Zhengxiong and Han Jingyao's father were brothers who would die for each other. Before Han Jingyao married me, the families and businesses in H City had always followed the lead of the Wu family. The old man had always had a shrewd eye, probably figuring something out from Mr. Han's attitude toward me, and had always been very fond of me. However, the person who made the mistake wasn't him. He had no need to apologize at all. Mr. Wu, children must pay for their own mistakes. It's not your responsibility, theirs. No need to take it upon yourself. Wu Zhengxiong heard in my words that I wouldn't let this matter drop easily, and sighed deeply with a worried expression. Wu Sini, however, was quite defiant. Dad, why are you apologizing to him? Someone of his status should consider it an honor just to shine your shoes. Wu Zhengxiong was startled, looked back to see my expression unchanged, and then furiously slapped her face without mercy. Insolent girl. Apologize to Mr. Lu immediately. Jiang Ming was stunned, thinking that Wu Zhengxiong didn't know Pan Yi's identity, and hurriedly stepped forward to explain. Old master, this is young Master Pan from the Pan family in the capital. Lu Duwang was just disrespectful to young Master Pan, and we were teaching him a lesson to appease young Master Pan. Otherwise, if the Pan family were to blame us, we couldn't bear that wrath. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Wu Zhengxiong not only didn't change his attitude, but also gave Jiang Ming a slap. What do you know? Never mind the Pan family from the capital, Mr. Lu is actually. Wu Zhengxiong was truly at a loss for words. I had never actively revealed my identity, and he didn't dare to clarify it for me for fear of displeasing me. But now his daughter was helping outsiders turn against and bully me. No matter how earnestly he tried to persuade her, his daughter didn't take it seriously, so he could only keep apologizing to me. Dad, have you gone senile? Don't you know young Master Pan promised me and Jingyao that once the Han group establishes itself in the capital, our Wu family will be next? This enormous fortune is something I encountered with great difficulty. How can you not know to cherish it? Wu Sini obviously hadn't grasped the situation yet. Without my approval, no amount of power or wealth would ever fall into their hands. Pan Yi felt humiliated by a sickly old man and wanted to save face. Old man, for Sini's sake, I won't hold this against you, but people should know their place. You're getting old and your eyesight is failing, so you shouldn't come out and embarrass yourself. He took out a black card from his pocket, his tone arrogant and defiant. Do you know what this is? It was a card exclusively belonging to the 4 major families of the capital, representing the status and position of its holder. Apart from those within the 4 major families, outsiders couldn't obtain one even if they spent a fortune. Wu Zhengxiong naturally recognized it. He glanced at me with my cold expression, knowing I wouldn't let this matter go easily. Unable to gain any favor from me, Yet not daring to truly offend the Pan family, he could only heave a long sigh and silently step aside. Meanwhile, Han Jingya, who had received the news at the company, also rushed over. As soon as Han Jingya entered, her contemptuous and disgusted gaze immediately fell upon me, only softening when she saw Pan Yi. Lu Duguang, I thought you were a smart person, but it turns out you're just an arrogant fool. Quickly apologize to young Master Pan, otherwise don't expect me to forgive you. Is your forgiveness supposed to be something impressive? I was genuinely confused and genuinely asked the question. Before, Han Jingyao was my lawful wife, and her opinions and emotions were part of what I needed to care about. Now that she's about to become an unfaithful ex-wife, why should I care whether she forgives me or not? Moreover, Pan Yi and his people were the first to bully others. Yet Han Jingya didn't even ask questions and directly assumed it was my fault. She acts without fairness, only currying favor with the powerful, while also allowing company employees to openly disregard discipline. With the Han family company in her hands, its collapse is just a matter of time. Han Jingya's face contorted for a moment, and she spoke angrily. If you don't want to be unable to survive in H City, I advise you to seek Pan's forgiveness. Don't say I didn't warn you. Previously, the Han family supported you and tolerated your misconduct in the company, but young Master Pan is someone you cannot afford to offend. At the mention of Pan Yi's status, Han Jingya's back instantly straightened considerably. So you are indeed divorcing me because of him? Han Jingya nodded without hesitation, feeling no inappropriateness whatsoever about her infidelity. Young Master Pan can help Han Group advance further, while you are nothing but a useless person who has nothing. Forgot to tell you, those people you hired into the company have already been fired by me. You can pack up and leave with them. Anger rose within me, yet I almost laughed out loud at Han Jingya's actions that were no different from seeking her own destruction. Han Jingya, I hope you will never regret what you did today, and I hope you won't come crying to me for help later. Pan Yi stepped forward to embrace Han Jingya, while also having his arm around Wu Sini, looking smug. Enough, you're the one who should be begging for mercy. Pan Yi signaled his bodyguards to make a move on me, break one of his legs, and cripple one of his hands. Young master has never been beaten like this since birth. He must pay the price. I raised my voice to interrupt them. The smile on Pan Yi's face grew even brighter, the contempt in his eyes completely unhidden. Han Jingya also let out a light sneer. They all thought I was scared, eagerly waiting to see me kneel down and apologize. Han Jingya, didn't you say you wanted a divorce from me? What's this, not going to sign the divorce agreement first? I had already decided not to show any mercy to the Han family. To avoid trouble later, it was better to clear away all concerns first. Han Jingya seemed not to expect that I would take the initiative to bring this up. She bit her teeth and suppressed her anger. Okay, out a paper from her briefcase, quickly wrote down her name, and then raised her chin and tossed the paper to me. Lu Duguang, if you hadn't been so disrespectful to young Master Pan, I could have given you some money, but now, you won't get a penny. I looked through the agreement, and only after confirming that Han Jingya had marked the part about the division of marital property so that there would be no more entanglements, did I sign my name. Free from a shameless woman, I finally smiled with satisfaction. Pan Yi's face darkened, and he spoke with displeasure. Lu, you won't be smiling for long. I flicked my finger on the divorce agreement, and then turned my head to look at Pan Yi. Young Master Pan, right? My previous words apply equally to you. I hope you won't be begging me in tears later. Pan Yi sneered with disdain and wanted to say some harsh words, but was interrupted by someone who suddenly arrived. It was the group of tech experts who had just been fired by Han Jingya. The leader brought them directly to me, their faces full of relief and joy. Young Master Lu, we've been fired this time, so you can't refuse us again. That's right, young Master Lu. If it weren't for the high salary you offered and your personal recruitment effort, I wouldn't have stayed at such a small company. I smiled slightly and shook hands with each of them. Thank you for your help with the previous matter. Don't worry, this time I won't stand in the way of your research pursuits. If you need anything, you can come to me for help. When Han Jingya saw this scene, she couldn't help but burst into laughter. Lu Duguang, have you gone crazy from the stress? Hiring these people as your actors, can you even afford their salaries? Pan Yi was even more convinced that I was putting on a brave face. People like them? I, the young master, could hire as many as I want. I stopped the several indignant people who wanted to step forward and argue, and looked toward Han Jingya and Pan Yi who were unaware of the disaster about to befall them. Previously, you both slandered and insulted me everywhere, and I didn't want to mind it at first, but since you're asking for trouble, I have no choice. Now, let me settle the score with you both. They still thought I was just putting on a brave face despite being defeated. Han Jingya mocked me for being stubborn until the end, while Pan Yi threw his head back in laughter. Settle accounts? In all my years, you're the first person who dares to settle accounts with me. So what if I bully and insult you? How do you plan to settle this? Come on, Let this young master see what you've got. I calmly took out my phone and dialed a number. There's someone called Pan E who says he wants me to kneel and apologize to him. Do you think I should kneel or not? The person on the other end of the phone was extremely anxious, but I didn't want to hear those pleasantries, so I hung up directly. Pan E thought I would bring out some powerful backer, and he looked at me with mockery in his eyes, as if watching a monkey show. Mr. Liu, don't tell me you're going to say that when they ask you to kneel, you'll reluctantly kneel down. TSK, truly saving face at the expense of suffering. I remained silent, just counting in my heart, and when I reached 30, someone hurried in through the entrance. Pan E, I see you're tired of living. Pan E was startled, looking at me with disbelief before hurriedly going forward to meet the newcomer. Big brother? Weren't you in a meeting? Why did you suddenly come here? Pan Yi's big brother, Pan Hong, had an angry expression on his face, with a thin layer of sweat on his forehead, showing how urgently he had rushed here. Without saying another word, Pan Hong grimly slapped Pan E across the face, the sound crisp enough for everyone to hear. Pan E was completely stunned by the slap, and Han Jingya and the others were trembling with fear at this series of unexpected events. Big brother, why did you hit me? I didn't do anything wrong. How can you be so reckless? Don't you know that you've brought disaster to the Pan family? Since childhood, Father and I have constantly reminded you not to provoke anyone with the surname Liu. Do you have a pig's brain? Pan Hong was truly frustrated with his brother's incompetence. As he spoke, his emotions grew more intense, and he kicked Pan E to the ground. Only then did he wipe his cold sweat and bow respectfully as he walked toward me. Mr. Liu, I apologize on behalf of the Pan family. Another day I will certainly visit with substantial gifts to formally apologize. Pan E will no longer appear in the capital, and the Pan family will definitely give you a satisfactory resolution. After speaking, Pan Hong turned his head again to shout angrily at Pan E, who was lying on the ground unable to get up. You fool! Hurry up and apologize to Mr. Liu. Although Pan E was dizzy from being beaten, he dared not be negligent upon hearing these words. He crawled to me, crying and sniveling, bowing deeply and slapping his own face while begging quietly. Mr. Liu, I was blind and ignorant. Please be magnanimous and forgive me this time. Let me go. He never imagined that someone as ordinary-looking as me was actually from the Liu family in the capital, a presence that even the major families in the capital wouldn't dare to offend. I stared at him expressionlessly, until he trembled so much he wet himself. Only then did I wrinkle my brow in disgust. Get far away from me, and don't ever appear before me again, otherwise. Pan E was almost crying with joy, nodding in trepidation, and slipped away like he had oil on his feet. Liu. Who exactly is he, that even the Pan family from the capital can't do anything to him? The major families in the capital have always been ALS. Pan E is the youngest in the Pan family and most favored by the old Master Pan. When has he ever been so humble and submissive? If that's the case, the Han family offending him would mean. Amidst the discussions of the crowd, I slowly raised my eyes and looked toward the stunned and stiff Han Jingya. Now it's your turn. Frightened out of her wits by what had just happened, Wu Xini ran behind Wu Zhengxiong in panic, her face crestfallen. Dad, what do we do now? Wu Zhengxiong frowned with difficulty and let out a long sigh. I warned you all earlier, Mr. Liu's identity is extraordinary, but none of you would listen. Back then, if old Han hadn't had such a sharp eye and coincidentally offered Mr. Liu assistance, securing this marriage arrangement would have been impossible. Otherwise, how could the Han family ever have had the chance to even speak with Mr. Liu in this lifetime? Wu Xini's gaze was blank, and it took her quite a while to process what she had just heard. So originally, Han Corporation became H City's leading enterprise because of Mr. Liu, and those employees just now also. Wu Jingxiong continued with undisguised envy. A company's ultimate development depends on technology. Those individuals are all top talents in the industry. For an ordinary company, hiring just one of them would be considered incredibly fortunate, let alone such a grand gesture. What a pity indeed. When everyone learned the truth, they all gasped in shock, looking at me with reverence, a complete 180-degree change compared to earlier. The few people who had initially followed Jiang Ming all turned pale, cold sweat breaking out on their foreheads, legs trembling as they stood frozen in place. As for Jiang Ming, he had collapsed to the ground right after Pan E was taken away, staring vacantly at the ceiling, alternating between crying and laughing. He had been literally frightened out of his mind. And Han Jingya, no longer maintaining that cold and arrogant expression she had when looking at me before, knelt before me with bloodshot eyes, reaching out to grab the hem of my pants, which I avoided. Du Guang, no, husband, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. It was because I couldn't judge people properly that I was deceived by Pan E. We've been married for so many years. You've always been the most important person in my heart. I voluntarily withdraw from the company and hand it over to you to take charge. You can manage it however you want, and I absolutely won't interfere. Can we just live a good life together? Han Jingya's eyes were filled with tears as she begged for my forgiveness, looking utterly miserable. But I only felt disgust. Frowning as I stepped back, I took out the divorce agreement from before. Han Jingya, we are already divorced. I, Lu Duguang, am not someone who despises the poor and loves the rich. When I initially agreed to marry you, I truly aided you as my wife. But not only did you constantly mock and ridicule me, you even cheated on me. I don't need such an unfaithful wife. And with you, there is no longer any possibility. Only then did Han Jingya realize what she had lost, breaking down in uncontrollable sobs, filled with regret. I walked past her, leaving without any mercy. Even without my explicit instructions, with H City's tendency to worship the powerful and step on the weak, they would certainly not miss this opportunity to kick someone when they're down.